Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking a
categorically,
question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can
No,
you
I'm
give
not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today and thank you for hopefully networking this information to all those you know and love. The more people educated, the more people have become empowered, and the sooner we end this reign of terror, and it is a reign of terror, by the globalist cult. Remember, this reign of terror is not because of a series of accidents or a series of bad coincidences or a series of incompetent actions and decisions. All too many people excuse what's happening by saying, well, it's an accident or it's coincidence or, wow, boy, what incompetent jerks are doing this. It's all willful. It's all planned. And it all has a purpose. And the ultimate purpose is to strip you of your remaining freedoms, your liberties, your future, and frankly, in many cases, your life. The good news is we all have a role to undermine their efforts. Today I want to talk about war, and specifically financial war, and the movement of resources from west to east. It's happening. I know you're not hearing about it on CNBS and the bought-off lamestream fake media and Fox News and Fox Business News or in the Wall Street Journal or in Bloomberg or Reuters. Right. Because they are all globalist, cult-controlled propaganda outlets to keep you uninformed. And that's what we do in the independent media, is inform you, which is why we are targeted. Let's turn to George Orwell from 1984. The purpose of war, according to Orwell. He told us some food for thought. In short, the purpose of war is to keep the ruling class in power, sound familiar, while the lower classes, us, remain powerless. In a nutshell, Orwell had it right. Now, when you survey the landscape around the world, you say, well, we have a multi-front war. We do. There's a war in Russia-Ukraine. There's a war, the front, so we'll call that the Russia-Ukraine front. We have the Middle East front, right? Israel, Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, right? Okay. We have the soon-to-be China-Taiwan that's smoldering, but is going to get hot sooner rather than later. That front. And then we have the domestic front. No matter what country you live in, you have attacks on freedom in every country around the world. So we got that front. So we've got four fronts. But there's a fifth front that all four of these fronts feed into. And that's the financial war front. There is a financial war occurring. And the powers that think they are, the globalist cult, the globalist syndicate, the New World Order crowd, the criminal international banking syndicate, the deep state, the shadow government, they're all the same. They have put in place charges in the financial buildings to come down. And they have pre-positioned themselves, so they're going to do fine. But you and I, they have tried every way possible to make sure that we're not going to be fine. Because if we're destitute, and if we're desperate, and if we're hungry, and if we're thirsty, and if we're sick, they believe, and they have every reason to believe this based on their operations in the past, we'll come running to them and say, save me, and in the process, they'll strip us of our remaining freedoms and liberties. And as these buildings come down, they want you, because this is how they've set up their chessboard, to point to the Russia-Ukraine front. Well, the reason why the financial system is coming down is because of that war in Russia-Ukraine. or that war in the Middle East, or that problem between China and Taiwan. Or domestically, there's an internal problem with a lot of head clashing and all that. That's why the system came down. That's what they want you to do. If you point at one of those other fronts that they've already set up, you won't point at them who are the perpetrators of all this. And you wonder why this channel, my content is suppressed? Because of what I just told you. That's why they manipulate view counts. That's why they won't send out notifications. You know, in our videos, the numbers are skewed, the view counts. I've actually gone to the back end and I've watched as the minutes click on, our view counts actually go down. You can't, you get a view count, you can't go down. That's how they manipulate it. They don't send out notifications. Because they want you to think the information we're providing is not relevant. It's not popular, so you shouldn't watch. You just go to those channels that are telling you that just sit on your couch and do nothing and just trust stuff because, it's going to happen. No, some guy with a white hat is going to show up at your door, knock on it and say, hey, I'm from the government. Hey, I'm from the military. Guess what? Oh, it's all fixed. Everything's fine. You can come out and play now. Come on, everything's cool. Folks, that's never going to happen. You're the white hat. I'm the white hat. And any channel that tells you that is suppressed. I have to laugh. We have 160,000 followers on YouTube. On average, my contacts, my IT gurus that I deal with on a daily basis say that on average 40%, when you put a video up, 40% of those that are followers will watch it. Before we were suppressed, we would have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views on our videos. 300%, 400, 500% of the number of followers we had. Now, 160,000 followers. Do you know how many followers supposedly will watch a YouTube video we put out? Because it's right there on the YouTube will show me. 150. 150,000? No. 150. 150? Yeah. That's how effective our content is. And the means that they have to go to block you from watching it. So do your friends and family a favor. Send them the videos. Do your friends and family a favor. Send them to davejanda.com because that's the place that is completely uncensored. That's where all my content is. I put content nowhere else. And there's a side to davejanda.com, the premium service content and email service, where I discuss information I cannot discuss on any social media platform or on the radio because of the deep state choke points that are at the FCC covering radio and in every social media platform. For the cost of a half of a pizza a month, 30 cents a day, I bring to you information from my sources from behind the curtain I've developed over 35 years that, according to our subscribers, many of them have contacted and said, Dave, you saved my life. You saved my family. You put us so far ahead of this curve. We put people months, years, in some cases up to a decade ahead of the curve of what's coming. And that's why I can't discuss it on any social media platform or on the radio. Because if I did on the radio, the FCC would come down and shut Wham Talk 1600 radio station down. What our YouTube channel, although it's heavily suppressed, there would be nothing there. Our Rumble channel, there'd be nothing there. Yes, Rumble is suppressed without a doubt. But we're in a war, folks. And the underlying theme that where all these Russia, Ukraine, Middle East, China, Taiwan, where they all funnel into is the financial war. Our country, the United States, is $35 trillion in debt. If you add the unfunded liabilities and mandates in, you're looking at several hundred trillion with a T dollars in debt. Yet, Congress and Biden just signed a bill that funneled $95 billion, $61 billion to Ukraine, $26 billion to Israel, and $8 billion to Taiwan, and had zero for our own border. And we found a way to find $95 billion to parts that, to fund what? To fund their kinetic wars, to divert your attention from the financial war. And part of the financial war is to put us in further debt, D-E-B-T, because that's what will bring the buildings down in their own footprints. In the heart of the financial war is hard assets. Gold, silver, oil, natural gas, foodstuffs, food products. And the winner of that financial war is who possesses them. And the truth of the matter is all of those hard assets are moving from west to east. And they have to spur these kinetic wars to ultimately cover for their financial war that takes down the towers. Because when the towers come down, they want you running to them and say, I'm destitute. I'm desperate. The financial system has crashed. I thought I had money in the bank. That's gone. It's been what's called bailed in. My brokerage account, my 401k, my retirement account is gone because of these derivatives that the brokerage services had. And it turns out they went south and that took mine down. Help me. Help me. Here's their help. Their help is to say, well, we got a solution for you. We'll help you out, but turn the rest of your freedom over to us, and we'll grant you these central bank digital currencies or a basket of our fiat paper currencies that are backed by nothing called the SDR, a special drawing right. These basket of currencies. That's where you should put your financial, that's where we'll put your financial future, and you'll be safe. In other words, like that. A financial digital that. Right. That's what they want. And they have to spur these kinetic wars to divert your attention as those come down because the cult has pre-positioned themselves with hard assets. If you look at the banksters, at the banks, at some sovereign entities that know what's coming and want to protect themselves like the BRICS countries, what have they been doing? They've all been accumulating hard assets, gold, silver, physical gold and silver, not paper vapor stuff. Meanwhile, the cult is pushing. Part of that bill I talked to you about, that $95 billion, there's a part in there where $8 billion of confiscated Russian assets are going to be sent to Ukraine, which is beyond a red line. The confiscation of the Russian assets is an act of war in and of itself that was done in March of 2022. And now they're going to give it to that dumpster fire over there more. And that World Economic Forum puppet that's parading around in camo outfits when he's not dancing in high heels. Yeah, look at his previous videos. That'll think I'm over the top on that? No, I'm just giving you facts. Look at his previous videos. Meanwhile, Putin is saying, really? Because he's telling you, we're fighting a financial war. He said, I'll tell you what, you're going to confiscate our assets, $300 billion that the West is now holding of ours? And the United States now, part of this bill, you're sending $8 billion over to this guy? And on top of the $61 billion, on top of the 100 and some other billion you've sent over, you know what? We're going to start confiscating assets over here too. And his first salvo is he says, I can freeze assets, $400 million worth just out of JP Morgan Chase's. If you look at all the West's financial ties into Russia, the assets Putin can seize is about $300 billion. Meanwhile, the BRICS countries are having a meeting. And at this meeting, they're discussing, we've already set into motion a different trading currency that's backed on hard physical assets, gold and silver, oil, natural gas, food. And we have a different trading platform that bypasses the dollar. Well, you don't believe that? Lavrov, essentially the Secretary of State equivalent in Russia, said this: Russia and China have almost de-dollarized their trade. Russia and China have almost completely stopped using the dollar in their mutual trade, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said. More than 90% of settlements that were once carried out in dollars are now carried out in the two countries' national currencies. And what spurred this was the action in March of 2022 of confiscating those Russian assets. Because what did all these other countries... Right now, there are 41 other countries lined up to join the BRICS countries. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia just became a member of that. But there are 41 others. Why? Because when they looked at it, they said, wait a minute, Russia has nukes, and they're doing this to Russia because they disagreed with what they were doing over in Ukraine. Okay, but we don't have nukes in our country. What are they going to do to us? We don't want our assets there. They'll take ours if we just disagree with them, which drove more people into this BRICS. Look, BRICS essentially is run by Russia and China. You have every right to say, well, Putin and Xi were part of the globalist syndicate. They were right. They are globalists. But they got together a number of years ago and said, Schwab, the banking families, because Schwab's middle level, so is Soros. He's not high. They're middle level puppets. It's the banking families. Like who, Dave? One more time. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Lazards, the Pincusses, the Warburgs, the Seifs, the Loebs, and the very top of that pyramid, the Payseur family. Look it up, Payseur. They said, they want us to do all these conflicts and stuff and to bring down the dollar as the reserve currency, and then they're going to do their central bank digital currencies and their SDRs, and you and I are going to be left out in the cold. Gee, we're the ones with the nukes. We're the ones with the military. Hey, heck with that. Let's you and I do something. All right. And hence BRICS. The BRICS system and the banking system both want to bring down the reserve currency of the dollar. And it's like, who's left? There's your financial war. The banksters or the BRICS countries? Putin and Xi, this is why you see the banking families and their little puppets, Soros and Schwab and the rest, pointing at Russia and China saying, bad, 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 bad. Because they double-crossed the bankster families. I've told you this for several years. Well, you're seeing it play out. So now you got the globalist puppets here in the United States saying we're going to confiscate, and around the West, we're going to confiscate all members of the World Economic Forum. We're going to confiscate Russian assets. I'll show him. That'll bankrupt Russia. So much for their BRICS thing. Well, now you got the U.S. takes aims at Chinese banks for supporting Russia. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said the U.S., the globalists, were concerned about the role that any companies in China are playing in Russia's military procurement, and any banks that facilitate significant transactions that channel military or dual-use goods to Russia's defense industry expose themselves to U.S. sanctions. So now we're going to sanction Chinese banks. Meanwhile, from Katusa Research, China has quietly accumulated large quantities of gold for the past year and a half, at least, to the tune of 72.7 million ounces. If you watch the video I did with Bill Holter, we talked about this, and Bill estimates that China has over 20,000 tons of gold. And thousands of tons of physical silver. Well, Dave, but the United States has 8,300 tons of gold, do we? It was last audited in 1956. When Freedom of Information Acts were presented to the Federal Reserve saying, exactly how much gold do we have of other countries that's part of that 8,300? Is there any of it? They won't answer it. Refuse to answer. Well, that's your answer. Hard assets are moving from west to east. That's not an accident. And remember what I told you. Who holds the hard assets is the ultimate winner of the financial war. Don't believe me? Okay, fair enough. Ambrose Evan Pritchard, not exactly. He's a international journalist. Has some ties to the globalists. But he recently wrote an article. Remember, the globalists will tell you the truth every once in a while. In their warped psychopathic means of ethics that they have, they say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to tell the plebes, that's all of us, non-globalists, we're going to tell them while they're in the shower that we're about to flush the toilet and the water temperature is about to change. Or we're going to let them know. And those that are smart enough to figure it out, well, they deserve to live another day. But those that don't, well, bye. Ambrose Evan Pritchard. Gold is sniffing out monetary and geopolitical dystopia. A powerful force is stalking the world's gold market and silver market and is operating in the shadows. None of the normal footprints are visible on the London bullion market or the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Retail gold bugs have not been buyers. Gold funds have been shrinking since December. Quote, it's not a Western institution behind this. It's a massive player with very deep pockets. I have never seen this kind of buying before, said Ross Norman, a veteran gold trader and now chief executive of Metals Daily. Whoever it is, or who they are, seems insensitive to cost. Central banksters, do not behave like this. Quote, they buy on the London benchmark and they don't chase price, said Mr. Norman. This rally is happening off the books. Conclusion, quote, my bet is that a big animal with a Chinese accent is bracing for geopolitical or monetary disorder on a dramatic scale. And folks, that's exactly what's happening. We are in a financial war. Russia, Ukraine, the Middle East, this China, Taiwan, these are all not just diversions, but they're all, if you will, symptoms of the war. And the hard assets are moving from west to east. So what can you do? I'm one person. What can I? Well, you can protect yourself. You can protect yourself. Because the government ain't going to do it. A politician isn't going to do it. The military isn't going to do it in this financial war. Oh, no. You have to do it. Watch, we have on the top, DaveJanna.com. We have a lot of free information there, public information. In the middle of the homepage, there's a red boxed area. Dr. Dave's Fight for Freedom, four-generation battle against the cult, if you will. I talk about what happened to my family in 1907 and 1908. The hands of the cult. Oh yeah, they were way back. They don't want you to know what they did back then, because what they're doing now is what they did back then and what my family did to protect themselves, and that's what you need to do. As we've told you, the single most effective insurance policy, you have to look at what they're doing. Not what are they doing? They're accumulating hard assets. That's what you need to do. Not paper assets, as my dad used to say. Paper is vapor, because all those paper assets have a debt, DEBT component on them. There is what's called a counterparty risk to them, where that investment that you see as investment can be taken away from you because of the debt that it's based upon. But when you hold it like physical gold or physical silver, you own it. There is no counterparty risk. They don't want you to know that. because they've been doing that to protect themselves. Because as the buildings come down, they're sitting on, hey, look at all this gold and silver we got, boys. Isn't this great? That's what they're doing. And you need to do that too. I've done a number of videos with Adriana Reed from the Camino Company, who they've created a potential lifeboat for you, but you have to get in it. CaminoCompany.com. I find them to be the most honest, straightforward, transparent, precious metal organization on the planet. One of the most frustrating things that used to happen to me as a physician is that when people would come see me with a problem, I'd say, okay, here's the problem, and here are your options. Which way would you like to proceed? I want to do option A, Dave. Okay, no problem. Well, here's what we have to do in option A. 1, 2, and 3 are parts of option A to get you better. They come back and see me in 6 weeks, and I go, how you doing? Well, I'm having problems still. Okay. So when we last spoke, we gave you a list of choices, options to go into, and you decided to do option A, which is a good choice. And we said you need to do 1, 2, and 3. Did you do 1? No. Did you do 2? No. Did you do 3? No. And you're wondering why you're not feeling much better? Yeah. Okay. So at this point, what I would do is I would take the patients, come with me, and in each exam room, we had a full-length mirror. And I would stand the patient in front of the mirror, and I would say, who do you see? They kind of look at me like, what's wrong, Dr. Dave? What's wrong with you? I go, who do you see? Well, I see me. I go, yeah, so do I. I go, and do you know who you're looking at? You're looking at the person who's your own worst enemy. Because you're not willing to do anything to help that person in the mirror. So we got 2 options. One option is you start to do things to help yourself. Or 2, you just keep on keeping on doing nothing and not getting better. Which way you want to go? Well, that's where we are financially, folks. If you're looking yourself at the mirror and saying, I don't have any physical gold and physical silver, then you're your own worst enemy. You're not trying to get yourself better or protect yourself. It's that simple. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And this financial war that they've created is for keeps. I would think after the last 4 years, the last thing you'd want to do is go running to these people for their solutions. Because their solutions were even more problems than solutions, weren't they? We are available 24/7 at davejanda.com. Tremendous amount of free public information where the real meat of the matter is on the premium service content and email service. Try it for a month. You don't have to sign up for a year. Try it for a month. Because it renews every month. If you don't like it, get rid of it. But I don't know why. Because you'll never get that information from any other place. It's meant to help you. To save you. And it does. And it puts you months and years. And as I mentioned, sometimes a decade ahead of the curve. Take a look at the person at the mirror. See who you see. I hope you see somebody who wants to get better. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.